Did you know you can get on our show by calling us at 323-521-9791? If this episode impacts your day, we want to know. Call 323-521-9791 and leave us a voicemail with your testimony so we can share it with our guests and listeners around the world.
One of the greatest lessons I ever had to learn was to always think ahead. I have a saying that keeps me grounded in my preparation. I found out that expectation is a great thing to have, but proper execution is when you have preparation with your expectation. In other words, when you prepare for your intentional success, then you are executing something great. The expectation of leadership is something powerful when you are prepared to leave. And in your preparing to leave, you're going to have experiences.
From pray.com, this is Life, Leadership, and Legacy. Every week, we give you the stories, values, and actions driving the world's most passionate leaders. On this podcast, we'll hear about the lives of pray.com's most devoted leaders. Listen to the experiences that have shaped their life, the mistakes they've made, and how they've learned to fulfill their destiny while leaving a legacy of helping others. On episode 2 of this 3-part series, Pastor Jeremiah Jones teaches us how to gain the integrity and discipline to become an influential leader. We learn how to take on all responsibility and lead properly because someone is always following your leadership.
Leadership is something that we are all a part of, whether we have acknowledged it or not. We possess the one most important thing about leadership, and that is the word influence. Influence is something that we embody. Whether we may carry influence in our home, we may carry influence in our jobs, we may carry influence in our churches, we may carry influence in our schools, or wherever we may go, we all have the ability to influence someone to either do good or to do bad. And so today I want to challenge us in our thinking and in our assessment about this word leadership, that we possess the right thing to do. How to use our influence to engage others to become better beyond what they are right now. As far as me, I'm a leader. I am a young leader. I'm a young 38 years old, hailing from the great state of Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City to be exact. And I am a leader who possesses the influence and learned early in life that the influence that I have in my life, it can be cultivated into a powerful tool that will result in a powerful leadership level. How I manifest in my leadership is I had to grow in my experiences as a leader. I had to grow in my experiences as understanding how powerful my influence was. Influence is something that you and I both adhere to because we have a leader in our life that impacts us and empowers us to do something beyond we thought we could do in our normal capacity. That is what influence does. Influence is literally a powerful tool in which every leader can change the concept, change the responsibility, and of course the action of everyone that is following them. How am I a leader? How am I more effective as a leader? 9 times out of 10, as a leader, I reflect how I followed. So my fellowship is determined, or what shaped my leadership. How I followed someone else, how I mimicked them, how I understood their process of living life. My fellowship determined how I lead in leadership. Leadership has the ability to pull something out of me that I normally didn't think was there. And it is because of the responsibility that I have to lead others into something greater, causes me to be more disciplined in what I do on a day-to-day basis. As a leader, I currently serve as senior pastor of 2 particularly great churches here in the state of Oklahoma. And in my serving as the servant leader of those two facilities and the bodies of believers, I have a responsibility to maintain a certain level of discipline as well as integrity to be an effective leader. I have the practices that I do. It's practices that I do on a daily basis. Some of my disciplines that I practice on a daily basis, and one is priority, is to maintain integrity, to maintain the integrity of which I lead in, how I lead, why I lead. And as I define those things on a regular basis, it creates a discipline about myself that causes me to be consistent in my leadership to those that are watching me. Whether you believe it or not, you may not carry the title of a leader, you may not carry the title of a dignitary, but you may have the responsibility, absolutely 100% of the time, that someone, I can guarantee you, is following your leadership. They're following how you take on life. They're following how you handle important decisions. They're following you and how you make important decisions, how you live through the good times, through the bad times, through the challenging times, through the successful times, through the failing times. They are following you. That may be your spouse, that may be your parents, that may be your children, that may be your siblings, co-workers, friends. It doesn't matter. Someone is watching you to see how are you handling your life decisions as a leader. And in your decisions to do right and or to do wrong, within that you are carrying an influence and you're shaping them oftentimes to make sure that they mimic your decision or do something through the influence that you've shown them to have their life to have a better outcome. So beloved, don't take it lightly. You are a leader. You are a leader who has overcome some failing opportunities, who have overcome some failing experiences. I'll never forget one of the greatest lessons I had to learn in leadership was through my fellowship. One of the greatest lessons I ever had to learn was to always think ahead. I have a saying that keeps me grounded in my preparation. I found out that expectation is a great thing to have, but proper execution is when you have preparation with your expectation. In other words, when you prepare for your intentional success, then you are executing something great. The expectation of leadership is something powerful when you are prepared to leave. And in your preparing to leave, you're going to have experiences. What do you mean by that? In you preparing to lead, you're going to have some failing points in your life in which your leadership or your influence didn't go the way that you expected it to go. You have to overcome the failing points, learn from those experiences, and for the next time say, I'm going to prepare myself for a intentional success. I will never forget, I was served in the hospitality industry. And in me serving in the hospitality industry, more so in the banquet, food and beverage area, I had to become what was called a banquet captain. And the banquet captain had to have the responsibility in overseeing or supervising an event at the hotel. And in my supervising the event at the hotel, I, in my expectation, thought all of the workers would understand what their role and responsibility was in helping the function become a success. And so in my ill experience as a leader, I just expected for everyone to come to the facility at a great appointed time for them to be prepared to work. And so, hence my ill experience, they come for the event. There's actually a luncheon that we're having at the hotel. And as the luncheon is beginning to happen, or closer to the time that the luncheon is supposed to start, the workers show up prior 30 minutes. And in my ill experience as a leader, I did not have direction for them to go in specifically. So I had a whole lot of people ready to work, but did not have the proper preparation to give them direction in which they were supposed to work in. Because again, my expectation was they knew what they were supposed to do. And so that was one of the most biggest failing experiences in my leadership as a captain, a banquet captain, just starting out, not knowing that I should be preparing the staff for what's to be expected of them, what's to be expected of the event, and sharing the information. And by my ill experience in preparation, I did not fulfill my expectation, and neither was the event successful because I had the ill experience of a leader. And so what I did, I had to learn from that experience and prepare for the next time, for the next event, on the next day, or the next week, or the next month, the next event. I had an experience of failure, and I'll never forget the embarrassment. I'll never forget the feeling of just shame and complete failure that I felt about my leadership, and I felt that I couldn't do it. I felt that I wasn't cut out to continue in that leadership capacity until I had my leader, my banquet manager, my assistant food and beverage director, to come up to me and to help me realize that because I was ill prepared, I gave them, those who were expecting for me to lead them, a bad experience, and I was not prepared to empower them to do better than what I was, to empower them to make a success out of the event. So from that day forward, I developed something that causes me to even now be at a place, a position to where I properly plan. In order for you to be an effective leader, you have to know where you are going. You have to properly plan the pathway, the course, the designed facet of way you're going to approach what you're trying to succeed in. So as a leader, I had to develop something. And it was a saying that said proper planning prevents poor performance, which means if I properly plan things out, I prevent the performance so poorly. I caused myself to be intentionally successful. I caused myself to overcome and plan out every obstacle. Now, I'm not saying that everything will go 100% correct. Don't get me wrong. There will be times where you will plan and properly plan. But there will also be some challenges within your prior planning that will cause you to even fine-tune even more your leadership. And in those times, you have to know that if I stick with the plan, if I have expectation, I can always adjust how I handle the in-the-moment decisions. As a leader, having a prior plan causes you to be one step ahead of the game. It causes you in every area of your life to anticipate mistakes, to anticipate potential challenges, to anticipate opportunities so that you can always learn and be better than the time before. So in the time of me preparing for the next event, I sat down, I put together procedures, I put together expectations, I allotted time in my scheduling personally to create this plan for the team successfully. If I am the leader, I can never lead from the back. If I am the leader, I must take the precedent position in being in the front and showing them, whomever is following, whomever I have influence over, whomever I am leading, I have the responsibility to show them that they have a leader who is invested in the team accomplishing what we're assigned to do. And so in this banquet event, I'll never forget it. We had over 500 people that we had to feed. We have over 500 people that we had, or guests that we had to fulfill a planned out success for. And so in that, I was able to properly plan that this person or this group of people will focus on that. This group of people will focus on this. This group of people will focus on that. And as I strategically in my leadership planned out success, it caused me to have a better grip and anticipation of what could possibly go wrong. Sometimes in leadership, you have to know in your influence that you must delegate responsibilities to maintain the integrity of your leadership. Just because you are a leader does not necessarily mean that you have to be deeply engulfed into everything about the event or about the assignment. You have to be able to reduplicate who you are as a leader. Your influence, part of the responsibility is to help cultivate the person who will share the same mentality and the same understanding in the task that is set up in front of you all as a group. So your leadership empowers, your leadership cultivates, your leadership teaches. And in your leadership, you have to be willing to express your failures to help encourage someone else as they failed or as they are at the beginning stages of their leadership. Remember, your leadership was determined by your followership. How you followed your leader, you should be able to mimic the same behavior, but in a better way to those that are following you. You have to be engaged with your followers. You have to have conversation with your followers. You have to be able to be one in the same, a leader as well as a follower in mentality, and so that you can lead your team to the next level. What does that mean, Pastor Jeremiah? I'm saying this in the capacity of this. I have to be at a place to where I am able to lead them, the followers, those who I have influence over. I have to have the ability to lead them in a place in life, whether it be church, whether it be family, whether it be in my home, whether it be on my job, whether it be in the community. I have to have a place in my life to where I can understand their frustration as a follower or potential frustration as a follower, but yet at the same time maintain the vigilance as a leader, maintain the integrity of a leader, maintain the consistency of a leader. All leaders and all followers have to have one characteristic that must be intercepted or involved with each other, and that is integrity. You cannot be an effective leader without having integrity. What do you mean? You have to be consistent. Your word has to be your bond. And in leadership today, you cannot be privately one person while publicly being something else. You have to maintain your consistency. Leadership must have integrity, must have consistency, it must have understanding, it must have peace about it. When you are leading and you are responsible for others that are following you, you have to be at a point to where you are in this walk together. You're leading them down a path. You're leading them to a particular goal. You set these goals up. You're probably properly planned for success. You're intentional about what you're doing. And when you are doing that, beloved friend, when you are consistent in those roles, it speaks to truly the integrity of your leadership. You as a leader, you're not a master. You as a leader, you're not a boss. You as a leader, you're not a dictator. But you as a leader, you are a person who literally understands the thoughts and the emotion of every follower, while also maintaining the integrity and consistency as a leader. You have to be able to meet them, your followers, where they are in their understanding and pull the best out of them, and use your influence to pull the best out of them. Use your influence to let them see there's a different way about how you're following or how you could follow. Let them know that you as a leader share the frustration that they have shared the emotions that they have shared the stress that they have gone through. And what you're doing in that, you are using your influence to impact their lives, to impact where they are experiencing any negative influences. Now, not to say that you will never have any negative influences, because guess what? Experiences come with that. Your experiences, you're going to have some negative influence, you're going to have some negative challenges, but how do you respond to those as a leader is totally different than how you respond to those as a follower. And as a leader, you have to show every person that is following you the best possible result that you as a leader and them as a person to being a future leader or actually a current leader in their lives, how they should respond. Some of my greatest lessons came from the food and beverage field. Some of my greatest lessons, again, came from me pastoring and leading two churches. You have to understand, as a leader, you have to be versatile, but yet be consistent in the integrity of which you're supposed to be operating in. I said all of that to let you know that leadership is something powerful. Again, you're the leader. You are leading someone. At the same time, you are following someone. But never let the follower show up in your leadership position. Never let the follower show up in your leadership position. When you are a leader, when you are influencing someone, you are the leader. You have to be able to be on your best display of leadership because someone's following you. And you don't want to be the cause of someone missing their mark because you were the follower when you were supposed to be the leader. What we oftentimes do as leaders, and I want to speak to this because I feel in my heart that there's someone's out here that's facing this. Sometimes we get frustrated with leaders. As leaders, we're frustrated because no one's following us, because they're not catching on to it the way they should be catching on to it. They're not mimicking and doing what we're supposed to be doing correctly. And sometimes that's very hard and difficult, especially when you have a vision, especially when you have a plan, especially when you have purpose that you're trying to accomplish and fulfill. Beloved brother, beloved sister, whomever you may be, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in, whatever state you're in, whatever part of the world that you're in, there's a universal rule. A leader, no matter what, can't quit being a leader, because the vision and the passion that they have within inside of them is going to burn until the task is completed. So what do I do? What do I do when quit looks good? What do I do when I want to give it all up? I have to go back to why. As a leader, frustration comes and pain comes and disappointment comes and challenges comes and stress, and I want to quit. I want to give up. I want to do everything to say forget about it. Whenever you reach that point as a leader, you have to go back to the reason why you did it in the first place. What is your why in leadership? What is your why in accomplishing this particular task? When you define your why, it's going to lead you to the next question, who? Who are you doing it for? Your why, it may be your family. Who are you influencing? Who are you doing it for? Once you define what your why is, why did you accept this? It could have been for whoever you wanted to do it for. It could be for the greater good. It could be for the next empowering moment of someone else's life. And if that is true about you, if that is true, if you can define what your why is, if you can define against all the odds going up and stacking up against you, against the lack of support from resources that promised that they would do it, the attitude change and the challenges that people are facing, that know your heart, that know your mind, that know your understanding, and they're facing you and you're facing all of this great challenge, you have to rely on the inner reasoning as to why you did it. What is your why? And today, hopefully this podcast is challenging you not to give up. I know that failure looks so horrible. I know the guilt, I know the shame, I know the emotional stress behind it. I can understand it, but you still have a why. You still have a purpose to fulfill. You still have a responsibility to make sure whatever the assignment on your life is, you have a responsibility to make sure it comes to pass. It may not be with all the glamour lights. It may not be with all the accolades. But the truth of the matter is, there's someone out there that's watching you and you're influencing them. There's someone out there that's following you and you're influencing them in their tough times that they're going to face. They can remember that when you wanted to quit, you kept pressing. They can remember when you wanted to stop, how to keep going on, how to overcome the negative and remember the positive. Here's something that I learned from one of the great leaders that I follow now. And he says something to me that was so profound. He says, you can never give your time, your space, or your mind, give time to your mind to think about what didn't work. You have to go on to the next one. You have to keep pushing for the next challenge. You have to keep pushing for the next assignment. You have to keep pushing for the next goal to hit, because you're going to face some challenges. You're going to face some opportunities that of people just coming towards you to fight you. And it seems like everything is against you. You know what you do then in those moments? You got to remember your why. Not only do you remember your why, but you got to stop and say, Lord, hey, God, I need your help. Take a little time out to pray. Seek ye first, Matthew 6:33, the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. When you have the kingdom of God priority in your life, when you have a consistent prayer life, when you have an opportunity to talk and commune with God, he'll remind you of your why. He'll give you promise. He'll give you hope. He'll remind you of the word that says, be not weary in well doing, for in due season you're going to reap if you faint not. You don't have time to faint. In leadership, you take some blows. Yes. In leadership, you're going to cry. Yes. In leadership, you're going to be very challenged. Yes. But you have to have confidence. When you have your why, you can be confident in things. You got to be confident in the talents and the gift that God has given you. You got to be confident in the task that God has placed in your hands. God has placed in your heart. God has placed in your mind. God has given you in your influence to lead others. You have a responsibility. And when you accept that, you now have confidence. Paul says you have to be confident in this very thing. He which hath begun a good work in you shall perform until the day of Jesus Christ. And today, I hope this leadership podcast is literally helping someone to remember you still have a why. That your leadership matters. Your leadership impacts others. Your influence over your life literally will help captivate people in a capacity that you never thought it would be. But you have to be the leader that God chose you to be. Hey, my beloved brother, beloved sister, hey, it's our opportunity to maintain our leadership. Leadership is powerful. Remember, someone's following your lead. Where you lead, that's where they're going to follow. And I challenge you, step your leadership up. Prior properly plan for what your leadership is requiring of you, for what the task, the job is before you. Don't be frustrated. Don't be emotional. Don't be stressed out. I know you want it bad. I know you want to create the success immediately, but sometimes we have to go through certain learning curves to cultivate a better leader out of us and a better leader out of the ones that are following us. Just remember, your leadership matters. What you do in your leadership is going to impact and impart into others that are following you. God bless you today. Maintain your prayer life. Thank you for taking out time to listen to this podcast. May God be with you and maintain your leadership because someone's following you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of pray.com's Life, Leadership, and Legacy. Don't forget to download the pray.com mobile app in the App Store or at pray.com/podcast. Pray with people you love. Connect with your community and leverage the power of prayer with pray.com. Please subscribe, rate, and in the review section, let us know who you would like to hear from on our next episode. We look forward to you joining us again next week.
Did you know you can get on our show by calling us at 323-521-9791? If this episode impacts your day, we want to know. Call 323-521-9791 and leave us a voicemail with your testimony so we can share it with our guests and listeners around the world. Call 323-521-9791 to leave a message about how this podcast has impacted your life.
Hey Max, what's going on, man? You sent me a message earlier today about that podcast to watch, and I just wanted to let you know that I finished it. I love how short it is, being under 30 minutes. But I just want to let you know that I have never really followed Christianity. My parents raised me, in a Christian home. We went to Calvary all the time, but I lost that early on, and I connected with Obed Martinez's story so much that you're right, man. I think this could change my life. I just got done crying, man. I just want to say thank you I'm a believer now, man. And, I've been fighting this for so long, and I can't wait to start this journey, bro. So, going to try to get connected with a local church and start, pursuing that life, that path that Obed took, seeing how he could have took the wrong path. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with the decision that I have to make, So, hey, I love you so much, Max. Thank you so much for sending that to me. I just messaged it to about 50 other people. So thanks, man. Have a great rest of your day.